Hey, John, this is perfect with the limb and the rover and you and Stone Mountain.
A hatch seals, an engine fires, a pair of boots lifts off the lunar dust for the last time in human history.
So this time, 52 years ago, you became the 10th and youngest person to have ever walked on the moon.
December 14th, 1972. The lunar module rises, and no human being has touched the moon since.
52 years ago, I was out exploring the moon. It's hard to say because our timeline was different than Earth time, but probably we were out on the moon.
Not for 54 years, not once. That's not how momentum works. Between 1969 and 1972, NASA put 12 men on the surface of another world. 6 landings, 6 successful round trips to a place 240,000 miles away, in a spacecraft built with less computing power than the phone in your pocket. The program wasn't stalling, it was accelerating. Apollo 18, 19, and 20 had been on the manifest, missions planned, hardware in production. All 3 were scrapped before the program even hit its stride. And then, somebody in Washington, not at NASA, not in mission control, somebody above them, pulled the plug on everything that was left. No phase-out, no transition, a hard stop. The kind that doesn't happen by accident, the kind that gets engineered. To understand what was killed, you've got to understand the kind of man who ran the machine. Charles Duke grew up in Lancaster, South Carolina. Small town, shipped off to Admiral Farragut Academy in Florida, military prep, where he graduated valedictorian. Then the Naval Academy, then the Air Force, fighter interceptor duty with the 526th Squadron at Ramstein Air Base in Cold War Germany, flying F-86 Sabres along the Soviet border. One wrong turn out there, and you're dodging MiG fire. That was his Tuesday. After Ramstein, MIT, Masters in Aeronautics. And at MIT, Duke wasn't just learning equations. He was hands-on with the Apollo guidance and navigation system, the actual hardware that would steer a spacecraft to the moon and back. So when NASA came looking for astronauts in 1966, men who could fly, think, and stay ice-cold under pressure, Duke was exactly the profile. Selected from thousands, test pilot, combat trained, a man whose entire nervous system was built for precision. July 20th, 1969. Duke's not on the moon yet. He's in Houston, sitting at the Capcom console, the single voice connecting mission control to Armstrong and Aldrin as Eagle drops toward Tranquility Base. Fuel bleeding out, program alarms screaming, the whole planet holding its breath. And when the call comes in, the Eagle has landed, Duke keys the mic and says, "Roger, Twan, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot." A flicker of humor, at the edge of the abyss. That was Duke. Cold, precise, human when it mattered. The voice the world trusted at the most dangerous moment in the history of exploration. NASA selected men like him because they didn't exaggerate. They didn't hallucinate. They reported what was real and moved on. That machine, that beautiful, ruthless system of human competence, was running at peak capacity, and its own government was about to gut it from the inside. 3 years later, Duke got his own mission. Apollo 16, April 1972. Commander John Young, Command Module Pilot Ken Mattingly, and Duke as Lunar Module Pilot, the man who'd ride the lander down. But the mission almost died before the boots hit dust. After the lunar module separated from the command module in orbit, Mattingly's main engine started oscillating, shimmying, the only engine that could get all 3 of them home. NASA held the landing for nearly 6 hours while engineers on the ground ran numbers and debated pulling the abort. Young and Duke sat suited up in the lunar module, orbiting the moon, 240,000 miles from Earth, waiting to find out if they'd ever touch the surface or get sent home with nothing. 6 hours, in a tin can, over a dead world. They got the green light. Duke and Young descended to the Descartes Highlands, a region 2,250 meters higher in elevation than the Apollo 11 site. This wasn't the flat, dark basalt of Tranquility Base. This was the lunar highlands, rough, chaotic, ancient. Scientists believed it was volcanic, old lava flows preserved in the crust. They were wrong, but they wouldn't know that until Duke and Young brought the rocks home. And the moon? The moon doesn't forgive. The regolith, that fine, powdery dust, gets into everything. Every seal, every joint, every mechanism on the suit. Duke described it himself. Very fine, like talcum powder, impossibly adhesive. Fall down and you can't brush it off. Sunlight hits with no atmosphere to diffuse it. Pure white, blinding glare slammed against pitch-black shadow. No gradient, no twilight. Just the raw, binary harshness of a world that will kill you in seconds if a single valve sticks. They stayed 71 hours, 3 EVAs totaling over 20 hours outside. They drove the rover 26.7 kilometers, nearly 17 miles, across craters, ridgelines, and boulder fields, climbed 152 meters up the slope of Stone Mountain, the highest elevation above the landing module of any Apollo mission. Duke called the view spectacular. They sampled North Ray Crater, nearly a kilometer wide, 230 meters deep, a natural drill hole punching into the subsurface, and they hauled back 96 kilograms of lunar rock, including a breccia specimen so massive they nicknamed it Big Muley after their chief geologist, William Muehlberger, the largest single rock returned by any Apollo crew. And what the stratigraphic analysis revealed back on Earth rewrote the textbooks. Not volcanic. Impact breccias. The entire geological baseline for how scientists understood lunar highland formation. Wrong. Paleomagnetic data from those rocks pointed to an ancient magnetic field that had died billions of years before. The portable magnetometer readings Duke and Young took at multiple stations showed the moon's residual field varied wildly from site to site. Another mystery screaming for more missions, more data, more boots in the dust. They were getting good at this. The learning curve was flattening. The science was deepening. And right at that exact peak, right when the machine was hitting its stride, Washington killed the program. Before Duke left the surface for the last time, he set something in the dust. A photograph. His family. Himself, his wife Dorothy, their 2 sons. On the back, he'd written, "This is the family of astronaut Charlie Duke from planet Earth, who landed on the moon on April 20th, 1972. It's still there, sitting in the regolith of the Descartes Highlands. 54 years. And nobody's picked it up, because nobody's been back." Here's the version you got in school. Congress cut the funding. Vietnam bled the treasury. Watergate ate the oxygen. The public got bored. All true, on the surface. But think about what actually happened next. This wasn't a pause. Programs get paused. Research gets restructured. Budgets get trimmed and agencies pivot. That's how institutions survive. They adapt. Apollo didn't adapt. It was erased. In August 1971, right after Apollo 15 splashed down, President Nixon proposed canceling the final 2 lunar missions entirely. The program was producing its best science, its most capable crews, its most ambitious surface traversals, and the White House wanted to shut it down at the peak. But canceling the flights was just the beginning. What came next was worse. The Saturn V, all 363 feet, 7.5 million pounds of thrust, the single most powerful machine ever built, wasn't mothballed. It was dismantled. The production tooling at Michoud Assembly Facility in New Orleans, the massive jigs, the custom welding fixtures, the specialized fabrication rigs, was destroyed. Not stored, not warehoused, destroyed. And Michoud had employed over 20,000 workers at its peak during Apollo. Welders, fabricators, quality inspectors, engineers who understood how the real vehicle differed from the drawings, because rockets aren't built from blueprints alone. They're built from decades of institutional muscle memory, hands-on knowledge that lives in the fingertips of the people who bend the metal. When the program ended, those people scattered, moved to other industries, retired, died, and everything they carried in their heads the tribal knowledge that no schematic captures, vanished with them. The blueprints survived on microfilm at Marshall Space Flight Center, but blueprints without the hands that built the thing are just paper. As one NASA historian put it plainly, we lost the factories, the tools, the materials, and the expertise to understand how the real vehicle differed from the drawings. Picture it, a warehouse full of microfilm reels. Every measurement, every tolerance, every weld specification. All there, all legible. And not a single living person left who could walk into a shop, pick up that documentation, and actually build the rocket it describes. Technological regression, engineered not by failure, but by deliberate institutional erasure. We possessed the most extraordinary machine in human history, and we took it apart with our own hands. But here's the thing that'll keep you staring at the ceiling tonight. They didn't just destroy a rocket, they replaced it. And what they built instead tells you everything about why. Follow the hardware. After Apollo died, NASA didn't go dark, it pivoted. The Space Shuttle, the International Space Station, decades of missions, 135 shuttle flights over 30 years, and not a single one left low Earth orbit. That thin band of space between 200 and 2,000 kilometers above your head, close enough to be useful, close enough to be controlled. And here's the timeline that nobody lays side by side. Apollo 17, the last moon mission, launches December 1972. 4 years later, December 1976, the National Reconnaissance Office launches the first KH-11 Kennen, America's first real-time electro-optical spy satellite. Built by Lockheed, a 2.4-meter mirror nearly identical in size to the Hubble Space Telescope, pointed not at the stars, but straight down at the Earth. Resolution sharp enough to photograph objects 6 inches across from orbit. The Moon couldn't give the Pentagon that. The Moon couldn't host surveillance platforms, couldn't track Soviet submarines, couldn't read license plates in Moscow. From a Cold War strategic calculus, it was a dead rock that cost billions to reach and returned geological samples. But orbital infrastructure, that was power you could weaponize. Picture a KH-11 satellite drifting 250 kilometers above Moscow, its 2.4-meter mirror resolving objects 6 inches across, sharp enough to count the bolts on a submarine hatch. Then picture bathymetric mapping stations tracking those same submarines by their acoustic signatures as they slid under the Atlantic. Real-time intelligence, actionable, lethal. That was the real space program, the one that never held a press conference. We traded the cosmos for a surveillance grid, exploration for control. And the institution that put 12 men on the moon got quietly repurposed into a machine that kept the rest of us under observation. The cage wasn't built to lock us out of space. It was built to keep us useful, in the kind of space that mattered to the people signing the checks. Charles Duke is 90 years old, born in 1935, one of only 4 moonwalkers still alive, alongside Buzz Aldrin, David Scott, and Harrison Schmitt. 4 men out of 12, out of every human being who has ever lived, and he hasn't quit. In April 2026, days ago, NASA played a recorded message from Duke for the Artemis II crew as they flew around the moon for the first time in over half a century. In that message, Duke told them he and John Young had landed their lunar module in 1972, a module they'd named Orion. Same name the Artemis spacecraft carries now. He told them he'd left a photograph of his family on the surface, and he told them the world was cheering them on. Think about the weight of that. A man who walked on the moon at 36, who felt the crunch of regolith under his boots, who squinted against raw sunlight with no sky to soften it, watching from a chair on Earth at 90, hoping somebody, anybody, would finally go back and prove that what his generation built wasn't thrown away for nothing. 54 years between missions, an entire generation born, raised, and grown old without a single human being leaving low Earth orbit. The radiometric data from those lunar samples tells us the moon is 4.5 billion years old. Spectral imaging has mapped every crater, every basin, every ancient lava flow on its surface. We know more about the moon's geology than we know about our own ocean floors, and we didn't go back. Not because we couldn't, because someone decided we shouldn't. The official story is budget cuts. The real story is institutional retreat, a deliberate withdrawal from the only endeavor that ever made this species something more than territorial. We didn't run out of money. We ran out of nerve. And we engineered a generational amnesia so total that most people alive today don't even realize we chose to stop. Duke knows. The men who walked up there all knew. And one by one, they're taking that with them. So, did we stop going to the moon because we ran out of money? Or because the machine decided we were more useful locked inside the cage? Type ambition or type control? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading everyone. And if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button and subscribe to Hidden Latitude for upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.